Hello everyone, hope you're doing great. So in order to connect Reaper and Wwise, you will need first a Midi port. And here on Windows, I'm using Loop Midi. I don't know what's the equivalent in Mac, but you find that. And once you have downloaded, you see that here I have set up a Midi port called Loop Midi port 1. Now on Reaper, you will need to assign the track to send the Midi through the virtual Midi output. So in order to do that, you will need to go into the route, into Midi hardware output, and select Loop Midi port. For Reaper, that's it. So now we go into Wwise, and you go into Control Surface Services, Control Surface Devices, and you will add, I will call it Loop Midi port 1, and I will select that it will receive from Loop Midi port. And we will need to assign a reference for each Midi message. So in order to do that, we go into the Control Surface Bindings. I've used a shortcut that is Control, Shift, and Q. You can go instead into the layouts, views, utilities, and Control Surface Bindings here. And you select the default control surface system. And here you need to go into the global folder. You will need to assign something. First, I will select the play, and I will select an event. Here I have the confirm. It's this sound. Now I'm hearing. Okay. And then I need to tell Wwise that when you receive a note, you will play this event. What's the note that we want to use? Well, let's select someone. I will create a Midi and select on channel 1, I will select C-1 that represents the value 0 from that goes from 0 to 127 on the Midi file. So I could write that into the Wwise here, but I can just hit learn, go into Reaper, double click it, and just click the note, and automatically Wwise recognize that, and it says, okay, when I receive from the Loop Midi port channel 1 the note on C-1, I will play this event. So if I go here, and you already heard that, and that's it. That's great. And if I put it here, I will do it like this. Okay, it's working. And if I go here, edit controller, you can see that it says note on 0. Why 0? Because it's represent C-1. If I change that to 60, you will see here that it will say C4, I think. Yeah, C4. And yeah, that's it. What if we want to send an RTPC to Wwise? Well, you will need to, instead of sending a note, you will send a control change. What is a control change? Well, all these values. Okay? So maybe I want to send the mod wheel that represent, I don't know, the player's life. Okay, so I will create a new binding and I will, it's learning. Maybe if I draw something, no, here's a trick, because if I play the play, if I click play, Wwise will receive the message of the play, that is CC 123, and we don't want that. We want this the mod wheel that is CC1. So in order to do that, that's the tricky part, you will need to play first in Reaper and then click learn into Wwise. So let's do that. We hit play, then we hit learn there, and when it goes here, now it learned that is into channel 1 and it's the control change 1. For example, what if instead of control change 1 we said, because we use the mod wheel, we say, well, this control change 22. Okay, it's the same. I will do it this. Well, this is another quick tip, that if you have the two values, it's gonna send the first one that is being played. So you should delete that. Let's go into here and let's do it again. We hit play here. Let's learn. And when it goes here, it receives Midi on channel 1 on control change 22. In order to pass RTPC, you will need to go into properties, go into game parameters, and choose the simulation value. Click OK, and then you will need to assign the RTPC. So I have player life, I will put player life, and that's it. So now if I send, give me like this, if I send an event, it will play the sound. Because I changed it, it was on 0. It plays, and here's the other thing. If you go into here, let me open it. Oh no, it's okay. You will see the events and the RTPCs changing here. So let's see. It changed automatically. To give you a practical example, for the Dead Space music redesign that I did, I treated the tracks in Reaper as a Wwise hierarchy of the game syncs. So I divided all the folders into events, states, and RTPCs. I didn't use switches, neither triggers. All the Midi was sent to this big folder that contains the video, and this folder I've used it to send all the Midi. Instead of going into each track and assign the routing, I said, okay, let's make a big master folder that sends all the Midi. And then I resolved that part in Reaper, and you can see that it's the tracks have the same name as in the Wwise project. If you go here in the events, it's play monster passing, play puzzle, play reset, that it would be stop all. And in Wwise, I assigned in the control surface bindings, all the events and the RTPCs. And then I changed the names. Changing the names is like going to rename. Another quick tip is that you don't see the option to color these bindings. You need to create a shortcut for the coloring, and then it will show you the option to color the bindings. It's the same shortcut than coloring the events. It's the same, but you will have to create the shortcut. If you don't create the shortcut, you won't be able to change the color. I don't know. That's the way. And then I created my universal category system for the events, the states, and the RTPCs, just to keep an organization. And it would go in order. If you can see here, stop all will always be channel 1 on C1. That what it means. Stop all will always be 0. Play music would be 1, and go so on. And yeah, you can see here, for example, that I have this stop all, or that would be the reset at the end and at the start. Then it will start here when I want to. When the game changes to combat, it's the Midi for combat, and it will have the RTPC for the enemy distance. That the RTPC is the mod wheel. It doesn't have any node. It's only the RTPC. And yeah, then it changed to exploration, and then it goes back to here when the player resolves the puzzle. And yeah, that would be it. What's the downside to this is that if you have a lot of events and a lot of RTPCs and switches and triggers and it will become quite big, and it will take a lot of time to recreate that into a control surface session. But there's a workaround that you could go into your Wwise project, you go into control surface sessions, and you can copy the template that you did. So, for example, here I copied my control surface session from the Dead Space video and used it into this project. Obviously, it throws an error saying that the events are not being referenced. But if I go into the control surface, it's in the video, you will have all the events and all the bindings as before. With the same UCS for the Midi. And in that way, you will be much more organized than if you will do everything chaotic. So yeah, that's it. That's the way to connect Reaper with Wwise using Midi. And there's one more thing that is recently came out 2 options for connecting Reaper to Wwise. The first one is Reaper to Wwise, and the other one is Wwhisper. I haven't used these scripts, but I encourage you to install them. They can be installed through Reapack and start experimenting. Maybe it's better than the way that I'm doing. Maybe it's not. Maybe the best way is to incorporate both of them, I don't know. But to my understanding, these are the 3 ways, I mean these 2 and my way, to connect Reaper with Wwise. So with that, hope you've learned something and that it's useful, and I see you in another video. Bye bye.